Hello, and welcome back to the Royal Watcher podcast. Today, Sam and I are joined again by our lovely friend Caspar, who's here to discuss the wedding of Princess Theodora of Greece and Denmark, which has been, I think, probably one of the events of this year. We've waited for this wedding for quite a long time now, and we're glad it's finally happened.
Yeah, the last Greek royal wedding.
And it was such a thrill to watch it. Very nice.
Yes, it's been quite a thing. I think we've been looking forward to this wedding for a long time. And if we move on to the next slide, we'll see kind of one of the reasons why this wedding was initially delayed was due to COVID. And then King Constantine passed away last year, which prompted another delay. And so 6 years after getting engaged, Princess Theodora finally married Matthew Kumar, and she was walked up the aisle with by her elder brother, Crown Prince Pavlos, who's now the head of the Greek royal family, and I found the whole thing quite sweet.
It was a beautiful wedding, and it was very nice that the oldest son took his sister up to the aisle, and because he's the head of the family now.
Yes, definitely. And there is still a bit of an age gap between the two, so it's nice that they're all quite a close unit still.
Yeah, he has adult kids, and she don't have any. So when or if she gets kids, there will be a huge age gap. It's like her nieces will, or her niece or her nephews will have kids at the same time as her, almost.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. Was Crown Prince Paphos is not too far away from kind of his own children's weddings, so this is good practice for him.
Yeah.
And
she was a bridesmaid, so it was together with one of Alexia's daughters. So
yes.
it was beautiful.
It was a very sweet gesture. And I think we can move on to the next slide where we'll see kind of the beautiful Metropolitan cathedrals of Athens where the two got married. And I think, I'm not sure if you've seen that clip from the documentary. I believe it was 20 years ago in 2004 when King Constantine was back in Greece for the Olympics. And they were walking around and visited the cathedral for the first time.
Yes, there was this TV program, yeah.
Yeah, and he declared that maybe if Theodora finds a nice boy, they'll get married there. That seemed like a ridiculous notion at the time because of their relationship with the Greek state and how it had been, but it was very nice to see kind of his prophecy coming true.
Yeah, and it's a very beautiful church. I've been in it 2 years ago, and it looks so big, but it's actually not that big.
Yes, that's kind of what has been surprising me. And if we move on to the next slide, we'll kind of see the difference.
If you also notice the veil that she's wearing.
Yes, which is actually that's a very good time to talk about it because this is one of those beautiful heirlooms of the Danish royal family.
Yes, and it comes from Queen Ingrid's mother, Margaret of Connaught, when she got married to the Swedish prince and became later crown princess. But she had it, and it's made by Irish ladies. It's very old, very beautiful lace that all the descendants since have the girls has been wearing. And the Danish Queen Margrethe also lent it to Queen Mary when she at that time became a crown princess and was marrying into Denmark.
Which is a very sweet gesture.
Indeed it was, yes.
And especially, I think, the fact that this veil and also the tiara has come back to this cathedral 60 years to the month that her parents got married. I think it must have been something that
60 years later, yes. Yeah. I like the history of that.
Oh, definitely. And it is such like a beautiful piece, and I think Theodora wore it very well. And we can kind of see a bit of a contrast to that day 60 years ago when her parents got married and all the royal guests, the hundreds of them who gathered. I think there was 8 kings and 11 queens that were in attendance, and a bit of a contrast to what we saw for this wedding this week.
Yeah.
Just it's kind of you see that thought the cathedral was so much bigger, but like as you say, it's actually not that big in person, and it's quite
stuffed like a turkey in those days.
Yes. And remember seeing like all the pictures of the ladies with fans, and just like it must have been beastly hot in there.
Yes,
Especially
and even though
all the
this
fans.
was in September, I mean, it's still very hot there, but it's more. But in the summer, it's heavily warm.
Oh yes, and I think Juan Carlos and Sofia, they got married in the month of May, and that must have been even worse for everyone. So
Yeah,
yeah, definitely kind of a big contrast to how it is now. But I did love kind of the fact that in the seating wise, they had the Queen Anne Marie and Pablos and Marie Chantal in the front row, and then the two aunts and the brothers and nephews beside her. I did kind
yeah.
of feel Alexia was a bit left out, and they could have kind of put a chair for her. That would have been a nice gesture.
Yes.
But didn't she
But
do the
she,
crossing of the crowns?
She did, which is why it's kind of odd that she was not sitting with the rest of the family.
Yeah. It was odd that she did it. I thought that would be Queen Anne Marie's job.
And I think she did it too. There was a couple of pictures of that actually.
I
So
think
the
Anne
brother,
Marie did the rings, didn't she?
yes, she did one of the
because
things.
that's the one thing I didn't see a picture of. That was the crossing of the crowns.
That was I think it was uploaded by Andreas Mikos, who's
Yeah.
really the best person for the Greek world stuff. And he did that a bit more recently. So in the past couple of days, they've shared a couple more pictures from that.
And he's a good friend of the family also.
Yes, and he was inside the cathedral, and he's
Yes,
been
I
really
saw
good.
that. He has
doing
some
it.
very good posts about it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So
But now that we see a picture of the guest, didn't he also mention that he thought that it was the King of Sweden's sister participating in the event, but it was actually some of the old Danish friends of Queen Anne Marie and Princess Benedicte.
yes, I remember you sharing that. I think, as always, there's probably you can only identify so many people.
Yeah,
With that amount, it's probably got a bit too much. So
yeah, and of course I don't know the Greek friends and the names, so
yeah, definitely. So
yeah,
and quite a, kind of from this, the whole layout I thought was really beautiful, and then that blue carpet, I think that was really the standout feature, and the way kind of the veil falls on that, it's just stunning.
definitely, yeah.
I think we move on to the next slide where we talk about, I think, something we all expected, which was Princess Theodora wearing the iconic Khedive of Egypt tiara, which was another one of the wedding gifts to Crown Princess Margrethe in
Yes, it
1905.
was. But here you also really see how it looks after Anne Marie had it changed, because he had it
Yes.
hired on the frame.
And it's kind of more visible, whereas like if you can
It is.
see pictures of Alexia, it kind of leans a bit and it's embedded in the hair. This
Yeah.
way it does fall much better, and as you can really, it's much better highlighted, and I like that.
But it's also it's a very iconic piece, because the next time it will be used for a wedding, it's most likely a grandchild of one of the. It could be. It would be exciting to see if Constantine's, sorry, Paulus's daughter will wear it.
Yes, that would be. I think that is something that I'm kind of looking forward to, if they'll kind of continue that tradition.
Yes.
And if Queen Anne Marie will kind of loan the tiara out, because she has loaned it to Princess Natalie, and I wonder if she'll loan it out to kind of the rest of her grandnieces, so the Danes and the Bellebergs.
Yes.
So
I do hope that it will continue in the different lines of the family until a certain time. So
yes, until, I mean, eventually at some point they will have to kind of part ways with it, but hopefully that won't be for
yeah, and then
generation.
the new branches of the family will create their own traditions.
Yes. So I do find it interesting how they kind of Anne Marie has been very careful, and she hasn't loaned this tiara out to a daughter-in-law yet, and they've only worn that antique corsage tiara, whereas this has been reserved kind of for her and her daughters.
It is
so
definitely like her emeralds and her rubies. This tiara is for her and only for extremely special occasions.
yes, though actually
What
we've
made,
seen,
yes, sir.
Queen Anne Marie has only worn this tiara since King Constantine has passed away. So even if I think she passes on the rubies and the emeralds to Marie Chantal, she'll continue to wear this for
Yeah.
basically. This
It
is
could
quite
be, yeah.
a lovely piece to have if this is your only tiara.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to point out is Princess Theodora is also wearing Crown Princess Margarita's earrings, which were a wedding gift, we believe, to her elder sister, Princess Alexia, from Queen Ingrid.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, one of those other kind of pieces where she's tying in all the different lines. So this is the Danish and the Swedish heritage. And then in the next slide, we'll see her bring the Danish heritage through the beautiful bracelet she wore, which is originally a piece from Queen Alexandrine's diamond soutoire that was divided up. Queen Anne Marie and her sister, Princess Benedictine, they both have a piece. This is kind of
so the whole sautoir was inherited by King Frederick, and he actually Queen Ingrid never had anything to do with it, like he never wore it. So they at one point decided that it should go to the girls, and the sautoir was divided in two. So one necklace each for Anne Marie and Benedicte, and then they kept the sapphires for Queen Margrethe.
Yes. Though the funny thing I find is that even in the 60s, and basically until she came to the throne, Queen Margrethe had kind of no diamond necklace. She only had those sapphires. Well, Benedicte and Anne Marie had, because of this necklace and the pendants they were able to hang on it, they had a lot more options.
Yes.
And they could make bracelets and stuff. And as even being the heir, Margrethe did not have that option.
And the girls even had the other diamond necklaces as well that say that descend from Alexandrina's mother. You remember those two very simple necklaces they have?
Yes, the diamond rivières that
Frederick at one time belonged to this opera singer.
Yes. Which the king acquired with the floral aigrette tiara in the 60s.
Yes, exactly, yes.
They were both much better off than Queen Margrethe in the jewel department in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I think this is kind of a nice way that Princess Theodora kind of tied together the different parts of her heritage.
But she was dressed so beautiful and she looked so fantastic. But not only that, she is full of heirlooms like the tiara, the earrings, the bracelet, the veil. It couldn't be more fantastic.
Yes, and there was so much kind of thought put behind it, and it's kind of lovely to see those heirlooms worn, and especially in a place like Athens, where even a couple of years ago we never really thought there would ever be a wedding or a Greek royal event in that.
Exactly. And now we had a few. We had, is it 2 weddings in this church, and then of course the ceremony of King Constantine.
Yes.
And then we had Nicholas and was married, but that was on an island.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if he ever decides to get remarried again, it would be interesting kind of where that is held. But it would be interesting kind of if that be as big of an occasion. But very interesting. And then we can, I think, move on to the guests now, where the wedding reception was held at a beach resort in Athens. And Sam has an interesting theory about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if you want me to drag them, okay. So it's just
within reasons.
Within reason. You're lucky I'm in a weakened state. No, it was just it was pretty obvious that the one and only resort in Athens may have financially contributed somewhat to the reception, as they were frequently mentioned in the publications and in the press that was released. But that's allegedly. I have no proof. That's just something I noticed.
Okay.
But we did get a lovely group picture, which, I mean, is such a rare thing these days. I feel like it's one of those things that's just dying out, and it's such a pity because there have been a couple of really lovely royal gatherings over the past couple of years, but especially the UK, the Queen's funeral and the coronation, there was a big gathering, but if we got no group pictures, no kind of acknowledgement, and this kind of is just like a gesture, which I really appreciate.
But I really like it because even though you see the 2 old family members in wheelchairs, they are there and they're dressed, and I love it. It's nice. And even though the old Danish Queen Margrethe couldn't participate because she had a fall, and we don't know if she would, but we guess she would. She was present there through handbags that she made to her sisters. They were both
Yes.
wearing.
So they were thinking of her, and I think she is Theodora's godmother as well. So they definitely thought that there might be someone. What I did think was a bit odd was the late Queen Elizabeth II was also her godmother, but there was no one there from the British royals, which is rare
No.
because there has been at least someone there for all the other Greek royal weddings.
Yeah.
So
Perhaps
Yeah.
they went back to the Hanoverian line and addressed it that way.
Yeah.
No.
especially when you consider that there was this big gathering in Windsor just a few months ago for King Constantine's memorial.
Yeah.
But none of the Brits decided to show up. So and
I would
so,
have expected perhaps some of the young girls or something, but no, nobody was there.
and none from the Romanians either. And King Michael was also one of her godfathers.
Yeah.
So, interesting. Though
is.
there was another godfather, which we'll discuss in a bit, who was there. So not all of them were absent. But I think we should first start off with talking about the interesting jewels worn by Queen Anne Marie. If we move on to the next slide, who
Yes.
wore her lovely diamond cross, which was one of the wedding gifts she received from her parents when she married
Yeah.
King Constantine 60 years ago. And she paired that with a pair of diamond earrings belonging to Queen Ingrid.
And they also say that the cross is old family heirloom, as far as I remember.
Oh, interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
But I think it's
It
just
does
a
have that
theory that
antique look to it.
we're guessing.
Yes. It must be they did have, I mean, Ingrid had a huge cache of heirlooms, so there must be a couple
But I
of
was
crosses.
just, I have the name Tura come to mind. That didn't she had a big diamond cross? I'm not
Actually,
sure.
that is interesting. I'll have to look
And
into it.
then if the king bought this flower tiara from the Caston skulls, then it could be that
It might be.
yeah.
Yeah,
I might make something up, but I think it's something we have to look into.
Yes. No, it's a good kind of thing you mentioned that it'll give us something to do now. So that was very lovely kind of choice of jewels for Queen Anne Marie. And then with that, she wore a new gown. And I mean, Sam and I, we love Anne Marie, but her sparkly midnight blue gown,
They're
we
done to
wish never.
death.
Yes.
And this
So
was
we're
a
glad.
Greek designer, wasn't it?
I believe it was.
Yeah,
So
it has the Greek
it's
colors
nice.
on.
It's a Greek color, it's a Greek designer. Lovely look. And then Marie Chantal, not the biggest fan of her look, but she looked nice enough for her kind of first major royal event as kind of the consort of the head of the royal family. So
I couldn't make out any jewels on her. Not even her,
No.
her big sapphire jar earrings. I couldn't. Sorry, not jar.
nothing.
Jar. Yeah.
No. So no,
And
it
she has
was
a
very
bracelet
minimal.
on, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, her accessories were the 4 sons. So
Yeah, that's for sure.
but I mean, good look from her. Nothing special. I was hoping she might kind of come out in the ruby earrings or the emerald earrings, but
Something, yeah,
not
could be
yet.
nice, or the brooch or something. Yeah, just a tiny.
Something to kind of enliven her outfit. I think we can move on to the other two ladies who did bring some nice jewels. First was Princess Nina, who, I mean, we've all had discussions about her fashion in the past, and it's usually been a hit or miss. But this is actually something really lovely, and I kind of love the bracelet and the necklace and everything. The whole look seems quite lovely.
Yeah,
But
I
she
did
looked,
wonder about the brooch that's pinning the dress together at her
yes,
waist, if that was an heirloom.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it off the bat, but it could be because they do
yeah,
wear kind of bunch of like brooches on the back of their sashes, and we don't really see most of them.
it
So
could be,
they
yeah.
do have
But
seed brooch.
she looked very nice this time. The fabric was tighter to her body, and she looked more confident and happy.
Yes, and I think that's with her. Like, I think usually she's let down by the couture she wears, but this
Yeah.
time she shows very well, and she looked very nice.
But I mean, even though you can afford some of the most expensive stuff, it taste is very different.
Oh
It's a personal thing.
yes,
But the necklace is quite interesting. But it looks more oriental when you see it from far.
it really does.
Well, her mother used to be the head designer at Fabergé, or the rebooted Fabergé. So I wouldn't be
Oh,
surprised if it was a modern creation.
it could
Ooh.
be, definitely. Thanks for that knowledge. Yeah.
That's all right.
Oh, it is an interesting piece. And then we had Princess Alexia, who wore Queen Anne Marie's diamond necklace. That
Yeah.
was a nice touch, and she was very well dressed. And again, like her mother, she chose another gown than the one she usually wears, and that was a nice surprise.
Mhm.
And the surprise was also to see two of her daughters in this in her old gowns.
Yes, which was very lovely, and they're all grown up now, so they can.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
And she's worn these gowns quite a lot of times over the years, so it's lovely
Yeah.
to see them passed on.
They're tired. We're ready
Very,
for something new.
very sustainable though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, and they're both actually wearing jewels that have been worn by Alexia a couple of times over the years too. So they did really go into
You
her
see the
closet.
long earrings with the pearl on, and I don't remember the names of the young girls, but they're beautiful. The one standing left to her with these long earrings with a pearl.
Yes, hopefully they'll be getting married soon, and we'll get to see the tiara again. So
Yep.
lovely. And then we move on to the aunts of the bride, who were Queen Sophia of Spain, Princess Benedicte, and Princess Irene. And kind of lovely looks from all of them. I like that there's like a bit of a theme of kind of bright red and pink, and then also kind of blue, which
Yeah.
is very kind of interesting. And all the guests kind of follow that. And Queen Sophia actually brought, quite unusually for her, a bunch of jewels. She wore her own wedding earrings and necklace, and those are the same ones that she wore for her own wedding in the this cathedral in 1962. And then
Mhm.
with that, she wore a diamond bow brooch, which she loaned to Queen Letizia last year for the coronation.
Mm.
Which is
I was expecting something from Frederica's collection, but I was wrong.
Yeah, I
But
was expecting the ruby pendant again, but this is a
Mm.
nice.
But what I found as a very pleasant surprise was to see Princess Irene in colors, and she had
Yeah,
makeup on, she had jewelry on, and it was
she
the
was
same the
nicely
night
dressed up.
before. She was wearing like a pistachio green. It's so nice to see.
Yes, it's
Because
nice to see
I
her kind
think
of
she has,
dressed up.
yeah, I think, but of course she has also been participating in funerals. Of course, she wear black, but in other things, I mean, it's rare that you see her stand out with colors and makeup.
Oh yeah, she's definitely, her dressing over the past couple of years has really kind of been a hit or miss, but this is kind of nice to see her kind of dolled out a bit and looking
Yeah.
kind of better than she has, because we saw the pictures from the pre-wedding stuff, and that kind of got us a bit worried about kind of her situation, but this is a nice surprise. And then we move on to Princess Benedicte, who was decked out lovely as always, wearing a pair of ruby earrings with pearl drops, a lovely ruby and diamond bracelet, um, lovely kind of diamond stomacher that she's worn with turquoises in the past, and then she wore it with pearls for New Year's. And this is
Yes.
kind of wearing this with Haitian pearls, which I think is the first time we've seen this version, and that's quite a lovely jewel. And I
It's
just
nice
noticed
to
the
see
star
that she,
sapphire.
yeah, it's nice to see that she makes it versatile, that she can
Yes,
like play with it.
and it's quite an interesting. It looks like a very modern jewel. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then I also just noticed the lovely star sapphire on her bracelet down there, which is. And then we move on to the Spanish nieces. And we were talking about a jewel from Queen Frederica, and that was delivered by Infanta Cristina, who we can't see it here, but she was wearing a bracelet that has two Art Deco diamond clips that
Yes.
belong to Queen Frederica, and she wore them quite often, as found by David of Spanish Royal Jewels. And he has done quite a lot of research on all the jewels that the ladies have been wearing. The earrings Christina's wearing belong to Infanta Elena, who herself is wearing quite a lovely choker and earrings that have been in her walls in her collection for quite a long time.
And that choker is lovely.
It really is, yes.
I'm a big fan
She
of
thought
these
it's a wedding
chokers.
gift. So
It's a wedding gift that she had.
yes,
Yeah.
probably from someone Middle Eastern, I think. There's no one
Okay.
else. gifts like that. And then the earrings can also be worn in different lengths. So it's been nice to see kind of the Infantas bring
It's
out.
practical, yeah.
The Spanish aren't necessarily known for wearing lots of jewels, but when they do come, they do deliver. And
they
Princess
definitely.
Irene's daughter also wore a pair of earrings that belonged to Queen Sophia, and that's been kind of a lovely touch.
Yeah, that the next generation is starting to borrow.
Yes, and like Alexia, her daughter also repeated a gown of her mother's. So that was really the theme among the younger generation. Yeah, so Alina's daughter wasn't there, so just for seeing.
But yeah, she was only there the night before.
I believe she was there the night before as well. Yes.
But she was missing at the church. Yes, but perhaps she had to do other plans.
Yes, and probably just there for one thing, and then we move on to the other set of cousins of Princess Theodora, the Bellebergs, and we have the prince and princess, who were lovely, and the princess has been wearing this necklace quite a lot recently, and
Yes.
I have the opal, or
I think that's a moonstone.
And then she has the beautiful earrings with pearl.
Yes, those are actually quite lovely as well. And a nice appearance from her. And then Princess Alexandra, I think, was my best dressed. She wore these lovely diamond earrings and a piece from Princess Benedicte's floral tiara.
Yeah. I was actually questioning that because it could be part of her own tiara, not her own, but her husband's tiara. The family from Easkop, they also have this floral.
Yes, and that is what my initial thought was. But then David looked at them both side by side, and this is Benedicte's tiara. When I thought that, because my first thought was she would have borrowed from her husband's family, because she hadn't really worn Princess Benedicte's jewels since their marriage. But this is a nice surprise. And then we also saw, I'm quite curious about the earrings because they look like they could be from her husband's family.
Yes. It's difficult to see them in details, but they could be, yeah. And it was fun to see her with her son and not her daughter. She has a beautiful daughter as well, Ingrid.
Yes, we saw them both at Princess Benedicte's 80th a couple months ago.
It would be a very good place to present the daughter also to, I think, if they want to have some connections or a good marriage. I know it's what they did in the old days, but anyway.
Yeah. It was at weddings like this that kind of the older generation made their matches, so why not the new one?
Yeah.
And I mean, Alexandra is married quite well. I won't pronounce the names of her former husband or her current one because the titles are just way too long. But
yeah,
she's really continued that connection to her, and hopefully it'll continue for a further couple generations.
Would be nice, yes.
Yes, and then we can move on to the next couple, who are the Serbians. So the crown prince is a godfather of Princess Theodora, and then he was there with Crown Princess Catherine. And it was nice to see them. She's Greek, and they're very close to the
Greek,
family. So lovely appearance from them. No major jewels. They have nothing left in the vaults. So, but
they are always they're quite close to a lot of the families in Europe, so you see them a lot.
Yes, you do, actually, yes. He's quite close to King of Sweden and the British royals as well. So we see them quite often. And then we move on to the other set of royals who were there. And the Hanoverians were there. So we had the hereditary with Prince Christian, Princess Alessandra, and their mother, Chantal. I thought it was lovely appearances from all of them. And then we also had Princess Tatiana Radziwill, who's a great friend of Queen Sophia, and she's her mother was Princess Eugenie of Greece, and she's been very close to the Greek royals. So it's lovely to kind of see her at one of these events, and then she was very much kind of at the center of the family. So nice to see that again.
And was it their parents that were cousins, like Constantine and? No, not Constantine's father and
her mother. So they were cousins, and then she's also the Greeks because to the Danes because her grandfather Prince George was very close to Prince Valdemar,
Yeah.
And they had all that.
Uncle
family stuff.
Gocky.
Uncle Goggy. So
Yes.
she's Uncle Goggy's granddaughter, and obviously, kind of, she's still at the royal scene. She turned 85 last month, so
Wow.
actually, she's still, despite the wheelchair, she's at these events. And
Yes.
then
And she was also present that the night before. And we also
Yeah.
saw her at Constantine's memorial in Windsor. So it's not an obstacle that you're in a
And
wheelchair and old.
we usually see her every summer with the Spanish royal family on holiday.
Yes.
So,
But she's like a best friend of Sophia and a youth friend, or?
yes, they've been friends since childhood, basically. And we have pictures of them. They both attended their first tiara events together, and they've been present at each other's kind of life for everything. So it's nice to see
I
that.
wonder if
Yeah.
they speak Greek together.
That would be interesting, actually, because Tatiana did grow up in France. But
Yes.
I think she is very connected to her Greek roots. And you were just talking about her jewels with you a couple of days ago. So nice to see her. And I think we've come to the end after this. Slide. Or no, actually, we have Princess Marina of Greece, the recent widow of the late Prince Michael. And she was there with her, both her daughters, but we're going to focus on the Duke and Duchess of Aosta, the Duke is one of the claimants to the Italian throne. And the Duchess, she's actually repeating one of her mother's old gowns. So
the yellow one.
The yellow one.
Yeah.
And sadly, we don't have a very good picture of her, but it was nice to see them there and included as part of the extended Greek family.
Yes.
Lovely to see that.
Such a shame Michael didn't live to see this. I bet he'd have been there.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Bless.
If I remember correctly, he's also one of Theodora's godfathers. So he's kind of the last one. But nice to see that.
But a nice touch to see them there. So soon after the funeral.
I know. That was the last Greek event, was the funeral in August. So I see they were able to kind of come out for this. And then we think we'll end at the next slide at this lovely shot, which was one of my favorites of the whole day.
It's so beautiful. And then you actually see that there are some embroideries on the gown here under the in the belly area. It looks very, it has a lot of details.
And I believe in the evening, she took off the wrap portion, and it was kind of a lovely neckline underneath, so she was able to wear that.
And I think I saw a picture that all her siblings were having a speech for her.
Yes, I think I saw that too. So it does seem like a very kind of sentimental event that they were able to host, and it's nice that they were gathered for something happy after the past year where it's all been related to King Constantine's death and his memorial services and a lot of bleak stuff, that we see kind of some joy back in this family again.
Yes, definitely. It's needed. Yeah.
So what were your overall thoughts on this wedding, Caspar?
My overall thought is that it was, I was actually planning and talking to Jacob about going to attend to see it, but we agreed on that we don't think there would be so many guests to see actually. But I was quite surprised to see that her godfathers from Serbia was there, and the Hanoverians and the Aostas. So I would have thought there was a little more participation from Denmark.
Yes.
But she's the youngest, and she has two cousins that are kings of Denmark and Spain. So
yes, like you, I also kind of expected some more kind of participation, just because her like siblings had like 10 to 12 like kings and queens attending, and then with all his cousins, just not having anyone was a bit of a letdown in that sense.
But I think it was a beautiful event, and oh my God, it was so Greek. It was very delayed. I was sitting and watching it live, and it's people could come quite close by actually, and the street out there was open. It was not like with the other events that has been there in the church where they closed the street, but it was, you could see it was a big attraction for people to come and watch.
Yes. And it was kind of a nice way kind of for them to kind of make their presence known without kind of campaigning for anything.
Yes, it was not a commercial wedding in that sense. It was beautiful and elegant. It was
Yes.
totally, and it was you could see Anne-Marie had a touch on it,
Oh,
I
very
would
much.
say.
It was done with a lot of class and kind of that
Yeah,
traditional royal elements, from the jewels to all the traditions that were followed. And like Sam said, it was very much kind of the last kind of royal wedding we're gonna see in
yeah.
Greece.
Yeah, there was a lovely moment. Sorry to put it down on it. I am ill. I do apologize. It's just when there was a bit where Theodora, before she went into the church with Pavlos, she turned around and she waved at the crowd. And I remember in that documentary, you guys were referencing, that was something that King Constantine remembered that her mother did. And I had this,
Oh,
I was trying so hard to find the footage of Anne-Marie going into the church and turning around and waving the same as Theodora did, because it was such an amazing contrast to the wedding 60 years ago and the wedding that's just happened, and how the political situation has changed in that, as we said, all the heads of state went to the one 60 years ago. And now, Theodora's was, it was attended by close family, but it was in no
yeah.
way, if things had been different, if, if the monarchy was still in power in Greece, which we know will never happen again. But do you know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
even though she is the youngest child of 5, would there have been more of a fanfare if the monarchy was still in power? But it was in my mind, I could just see a contrast between the 60 years.
Oh, definitely.
It was, yeah. I wonder what Anne-Marie would have been feeling when it's coming out and she was greeted with flaps and cheering, but on this special day 60 years ago, when it was herself, it was
Yeah, she had
now
a carriage, and everyone was out on the streets, and yeah, it's
and she had
crazy.
been a grandmother for many, many years, and finally now her youngest child is getting married.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's
it's an
like
interesting.
closing the ring. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely closing the ring. But like I say, not to put a downer on it, but I can't see, any of Pavlos's kids getting married in this cathedral, or Alexia's, or
No.
I think this was, again, just like the death of King Constantine, the last kind of royal event that you're going to see. Apart, I think, sadly, not to, preempt it, but until Queen Anne-Marie passes, this is going to be,
Yeah.
the last wedding at least.
And I do think that if Nicholas will remarry, it will be not there. It would
Nah,
be more simple
yeah, definitely.
because he had a big wedding on an island. So it,
Yeah.
of course, depends on who he marries, but if he marries.
Mm.
But I think that Paulus's daughter, she will have and son will have very big weddings.
I'm just not there.
Most likely in England, don't you think?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe the heir might have it in Greece, but probably
Yeah.
not the.
But
But
yeah,
it
but
will.
not to end it on a downer, because it was a lovely day and she did look amazing. And I know she's waited a long time for this, and when she came out, she looked absolutely stunning and beautiful. And do you know what was lovely as well? When they came out of the church and they had the kiss, you could definitely tell they were in love with each other. There was a lot of feeling there. God, I
Yeah.
must be so sick.
Yeah.
I'm getting sentimental.
No, she deserves it. It was so nice to see. And finally, they got each other.
Yeah.
After so much
Very
waiting.
smiling again.
I remember, like Caspar was saying, when we met in 2020, when both of us first met, I remember mentioning that I was planning to go to Greece to attend their wedding in May of 2020, and the fact that now, like 4 years later, it's finally happened. It's
It's
really.
finally happened, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
just there was a lot that got cancelled with this COVID.
Yes, but no, it was a lovely occasion nonetheless. Thank you so much for joining us to discuss
So
this.
welcome. That's a joy, a very joyful event. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice
and we
to
hope
talk to
to
you
have you
guys.
back. Love, yeah.
Yeah.
We hope to have you back again soon.
Yeah.